So, another one of these videos. I just came across this video, and man, this was a good interview. So, I'm showing you the full channel, and the title, So this is, this kind of stuff that I'm into. But I want y'all to hear something.
But one of the miseries of being a civil rights leader of that period, it was grandiose if ye could spend one night a week with that wife and them children. And that's why God blessed us all with strong wives, but the absence of that father from that family. But it was quite a hell of a life to live.
Listen to the story he about
We
to
went
tell.
in town, and when we won a victory, we couldn't just get up and leave town, because a lot of times those white leaders would give in, and they was waiting for us to leave town. They could destroy those local black leaders. So we had to remain in that town until things cooled down, and the white folks see the devil was not going to disappear the town, and things will work out, and then we'd be able to depart. They beat us unmercifully 3 times a day in St. Augustine, Florida. When we go out to that ocean in the morning, and the Ku Klux Klan would stand on the backs with sticks, and we wade out in the ocean. And after we get out there, the sheriff would say, "Charge," and they'd come out of that ocean and beat us until the water was bloody. Now that was a hell of a thing for me, because I can't swim. And I said, oh, every day I said, they're going to drown me. But and then in St. Augustine, we get out, they'd arrest everybody. Blacks had to pay $50 a piece to get out of jail. The whites that beat us up paid $2.50 to get out of jail. Now, we'd have another group to march down to the lunch counters at lunch hour, and they'd beat us again. But the worst beating we would take would be that night about 7 o'clock. Dr. King had gone to Memphis, Tennessee, 2 weeks prior to this, and led a march where violence broke out and some people were killed. That's the only march he ever led, where violence broke out and people were murdered. That's the only march Hosea Williams did not organize. We had learned where the violence and how it take place. And if you were back there cussing at the police, and we'd tell you to stop or throwing things at the police, we would throw you out to march to the police and say, now they'd get them. And we had no violence of that sort. And Dr. King came back to Atlanta.
I don't agree with that.
And that man was hurt. I don't think he could have been more hurt. And he heard us this meeting, and he just didn't know what to say or what to do. SLC never had any money. We always was broke. And that Saturday, all at once he said, we'll come. We was discussing the Poor People campaign in Washington. And he said, we're going to Memphis to complete this debate. Why in the hell are we going to Memphis broke? So I just couldn't hardly believe what he was saying. And that Tuesday, we went to Memphis. And when we went out to the airport that morning, at 9 o'clock, got on that plane, we always was late. The plane was supposed to depart at 9. We got there about 5 minutes after 9. Not one person on that plane. We boarded the plane and took off for Memphis. The pilot apologized and said, even though last night we were required to totally search this plane, he said this morning when we came up to the gate, they wouldn't allow us to put anyone on the plane until we researched the plane. So we went on to Memphis. We were discussing the Washington movement, Poor People campaign in Washington. And that afternoon, we were in the meeting, and someone said, Reverend Billy Kyles is outside, and he's upset. And Dr. King said, oh, my God, I forgot to tell y'all. I promised his wife, who's supposed to be a great soul food cooker, we'd have our feet on her table at 5:30. Now it's 5:45, and we sit in the meeting. Dr. King said, everybody rush, rush, rush. And get ready in a hurry. Let's go. So I ran down and got to my room. My key wouldn't open my door for some strange reason. The limousine that had been loaned to us, I opened my door. I could touch the limousine. And finally I heard the driver tell Dr. King, Dr. King, I advise you get your top coat, because even though I have the car on, it's still chilly. And the last words he said in this world, okay, Jonesy, I'll get my top coat. And I
I can hear it in his voice.
And I honestly thought someone had thrown a firecracker into the air. And I looked around to rebuke whoever was that stupid. And I heard something, bloop-a-loop, fell up above my head. And I looked up, and his leg was sticking through the rail. Dr. King only wore one type of sock and one type of shoe. And I knew that was him. I said, oh, my God, they got it. And then I had to run about 50 feet down and back up, and I got to him. And Ralph was holding his head, and Andy was there. And a guy from Africa who had been traveling with us as a newsman from Africa. We found out later on he was working for the CIA. No, the FBI, working for the FBI. And he took a lot of pictures of Dr. King. And I grabbed him in the throat. I just started choking him, because the bullet hit Dr. King right here. And it went round and cut his medulla oblongata. And I didn't want people to remember Dr. King with half his face shut off. So Andy ran and got a towel. And somehow or another, they took one more picture after I made him empty that camera. And it shows Dr. King down with a towel on his face.
Just dirty.
But I'm going to tell you, I was an expert gunner in World War II. When I ran up on that balcony, and I looked from whence that bullet had to come, the distance of that bullet, and just could feel the wind blowing that day, I said, whomever shot that rifle was one of the best in the world. He shot one bullet. And I believe if Dr. King hadn't moved to go back and get his top coat, the bullet would have hit him between the eyes. The bullet hit him right here. But what happened, and then Ralph said, we'll go in and take him on to the hospital. Hosea, you get all the staff together. 3 of us saw it, Dr. King, after he was shot. 3 SLC
Listen to this.
executive staff members. Andy, Abernathy, and Hosea Williams. Those are the 3 that saw that body. Now listen to that. So I got in the yard, and I was about to lose my cool, because I was thinking if I could take some molecules out there and make me some guns and kill me some white folks. And one man said, now be cool. You're doing the same thing you're promising me you'll never do. And I started crying, and then I heard Jesse Jackson say,
Listen.
he told me, Jesse, take our people on to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And that didn't bother me, even though I know Jesse got nowhere near him. And then Jesse said, I held his head in my hand while he died. And that didn't get to me. And then Jesse said, look at my shirt. And I looked around, sure enough, and Jesse Jackson's shirt was drenched in blood. And I realized the only way Jesse could have gotten that blood was stoop down on that floor at the Lorraine Motel and rake that blood off that floor and put that blood on him.
Dirty
I
nigga.
went crazy. I really tried to kill Jesse. They grabbed us all that, but that hurt me so bad. The other thing was, when Abernathy came back, says, no need of prayer, no need of cry, no need of nothing. He is gone. It's over with. He's gone to glory. And we called the meeting, the staff meeting, and Jesse claimed to have been ill. And Abernathy told him, Jesse, go ahead to the room and relax. Jesse had to have run like hell that room into that airport, because he got out of Memphis to Chicago. All us feeling everybody was still in the motel. Cut the televisions on the next morning. That was Jesse Jackson in Chicago with that same bloody shirt on, telling that same lie. I've never respected Jesse since that moment.
Dirty.
When they shot Dr. King, a black guy come running around that corner saying, he went that way, he went that way. James Earl Ray no more killed Dr. King, and I killed him. And everybody knew it. He was a patsy set up. And the guy said, went that way, went that way. I said, who went that way? He said, that man ran out that building and dropped the rifle on the sidewalk and jumped in a white Mustang, had a red Alabama tag, and took off. Well, hell, I wasn't worried. That's no car in America look like a Mustang, but a Mustang, a white with red Alabama tag. Where's he going? The police have him like that. And I asked that rifle was left on that sidewalk. That was the rifle that James Earl Ray had purchased, but that was not the bullet that killed Dr. King.
Woke up this.
So, like I said, if you want to see more of that, you know where to go. And I know Martin Luther King Day is coming up. It's my Facebook page. So, yeah, I've talked about Martin Luther King a lot. But I just want to say that I know that Martin Luther King Martin Luther King Day is coming up, and I rest in peace to him. And I am grateful for our quote unquote freedoms today. And I do recognize that a lot was done. He did get a lot done, but I still have my views, and I still stand 10 toes down on my views. But the empathetic part of me, says, rest in power, Martin Luther King Jr. So, yeah, I've talked about, it's my guy though, right here. Uncle Mac. It's important to know your history, people. It really is. I know this stuff is boring to you, but that's what I'm going to get on in my next little segment here. But look at what Rose said. A black woman. Somali are black people just like, and black African American is black. But we not the same people. This is why it's important to know your history and to know that black people come from the tribe of Judah. It's about a bloodline. Yes, I still recognize my people as black people, but I also know who we are, where we come from. So I won't be making mistakes like this. Somali are black people just like black African American. Stop.
Yes, illiteracy does relate to shorter attention spans. Learning to read builds specific brain networks for focus, memory, and reasoning, which are less developed in those who cannot read. This affects their ability to concentrate and process information.
So, hey, hope you're having a good day. So I be seeing a lot of people, right? And they always want to bring up Ephesians 6, 6 through 8, when they talk about, oh, well, the Bible said, honor your slave masters. Before I break this down, I just want to show you something. This is crazy. The U.S. illiteracy rate, often defined as functional illiteracy, level 1 or below, hovers around 21% to 28% of adults, affecting roughly 43 to 59 million people who have kids, right? And it's a strong possibility that those kids are going to be illiterate too. I'm just saying. Meaning they struggle with basic tasks like comparing info. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's right here. Like comparing info or making inferences. Though some recent data suggests higher numbers at lower skill levels, with figures rising from 19% 2017 to 28% 2023 for those at the lowest literacy levels in a key survey. And it goes on. This says that not everyone needs to be trying to break down the Bible. Because in order to break down the Bible and the scriptures, you have to know how to read and comprehend. And according to this data, a lot of people cannot understand what they are reading. Okay, let's get back to this. So Ephesians 6, 5 through 8. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart, as unto Christ. So you think that because white folk took this scripture and told us that, see right here, it says, servants, obey your masters. That's not what this is saying. That's not what this scripture is saying. The servants are the followers of Christ. This was set up. There's a pecking order, okay? First, it's the Most High and the Holy Spirit, then Christ. And then Christ set up people, the 12 disciples. These are our masters. Not Bubba with the whip or President Dump, okay? That's not what this means. And what lets me know that is because it says, as unto Christ. Because Christ is the head. You know, well, the Most High is the head, but Christ is the head because he's our Redeemer, right? And so Christ and the earlier followers of Christ were called Messianics. They were not called Christians. They were called Messianics. It was an order after the Messiah. And there was a structure. Okay? Like Christ, how he leaned on Peter, how he leaned on Paul to establish churches. And it trickles down. And even though I talk about the Catholic Church, you know, the first 5 popes were black. So, you know, when Catholicism was first started, it didn't start off bad. It got bad when that 6th Pope of Rome, when the Renaissance came about. But sticking to what I'm saying here, this is not about obeying a slave master with the whip in the hand. No, this was about obeying what Christ established through the disciples and who the disciples established. It's like a trickling down effect. This ain't got nothing to do with, you know, us. They took this and used it against us. They still do stuff like this to this day. I mean, but it's the same with this. That does not mean, oh, obey your slave master. I'm a servant. I'm a servant unto the Most High. I'm a servant unto Christ. I'm not a slave. And that's what that says here. It says servants. And then I noticed that they just like to focus on verses 5 and 8. What about verse 9? And ye masters, do the same things unto them, forbearing, threatening. So what does it mean to forbear threatening? Forbear threats.
Threats means choosing not to use threats or intimidation. It involves patience, self-control, and peaceful endurance, even when provoked. It's about actively refraining from threatening, as seen in examples where leaders are told to stop threatening their workers.
Oh, okay. So did they do that? Did they do that?
The slave masters.
No, because we got played, y'all. Like, we got to stop it with this. We got to stop it. This does not mean slavery, okay? The reason why it's viewed as that is because of what happened. They took scriptures like this and changed it and changed the meaning to fit their narrative.
How to make a Negro.
But even they didn't follow the scriptures because look, did they forbear threatening?
No.
Did they forbear threats?
No. Or the whip. Or the chains.
This does
Or the
not mean
raping.
slavery. This means servants. Even if you want to say the church, the people in the pews, be obedient to the people that's supposed to lead you in the right way. But these people ain't leading you in the right way. No, where they leading you to is the $1,000 plus $1,000 line. That's where they leading you to, which goes against Matthew 6, 1 through 4. And this is in the New Testament. So just know, when you standing in them $50 lines, when you standing in a $100 line, you actually going against what Christ said right here in the red letters. You're not supposed to do that. But it's a lot of things that you're not supposed to do that the Christian church has done. Okay, I talk about it all the time. These people have collected $420 billion. I think it's per year I think it is 9,333,333,333 per year since the 1980s, and they still got you standing in these lines.
A mess. A shame.
Okay, and we got to keep in mind, wasn't these letters being written to the church? Wasn't Paul write to the church of Colossians? So when you have to understand in the context that he is speaking, this was, so he set up a church. He set up Colossians. So he is like, he's the quote unquote master of that church, right? But that church has a head that keeps in touch with Paul. And Paul was given authority by Christ. And Christ was given authority by the Most High. That's the order. It's not about
the government.
chattel slavery.
Right.
You have to understand this was taken and this was used. It's just like if somebody was to. So the bottom line is when you see scriptures like this, Paul was writing to the church of Colossia. And so that's the church he established. This has nothing to do with the government. You do realize that there is an order. I mean, y'all do follow the order, in the church today, with the apostle and the bishops and stuff. These scriptures was meant for that. Not for President Dump, not for Johnson and Johnson, who had, slaves. This wasn't meant for that. They took this and used it and told us this meant that. But that was a lie. Servants, nonetheless. I mean, are we not all servants to God? True. So we have to keep this in proper context, because this is not talking about Slavery. Okay. This is 1 Peter 2:18. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also the froward. So, do we know what froward means? It means a difficult person. Now, to me, and I say to me because we all have our different, degrees of difficulty, but I'm going to just go out on a limb and say that a person that's got you in chains in the field picking and they whipping you, that's beyond difficult. Just a little bit. Like that's beyond difficult. Difficult is like, okay, you want to celebrate paganism, you want to celebrate Christmas, but I don't agree with that and I don't think we should do that. That's a difficult, conversation. Ties being food, but y'all have taken the word and twisted it to scam people out of money. That's a difficult conversation. Okay? But somebody busting into your home and doing whatever with your wife and then deleting you, that's a tad bit beyond difficult. Just a tad, I'm just saying. Again. Because, baby, it needs to be shown. We have a problem. Do I know everything? I don't know everything. But a lot of the stuff that I come across, I do know. Because one, I've heard it before. And then two, or I should say, most of the stuff I come across, I do have the answer before because I come across the same stuff. And I can read. I like to read. And I don't just read to read. No, I read to gain an understanding. I even like to read between the lines. That's how much I like to read. So, and even though, my mouth is fierce. My mouth is fierce. The fuck out. But just because my mouth is fierce, that does not mean that my vocabulary is short. Because Paul's mouth was fierce too. And so was Christ. Yo, I'm telling you, that's one of my number one things that I cannot stand about the church, the men in church, the doctrine of church. They make these guys sound like Barney. Do you know Christ compared a female, and her people to dogs? He compared them to dogs. Is that nice? If he do it to the wrong person, he might get canceled today. How sensitive people are. I'm not with that cancel culture. No, you go ahead and say what you got to say. So I can say what I got to say back. And sometimes that's why I'll use other people too. Because sometimes I don't be trying to cuss and all. So if I can find somebody that's saying it in a better way than me, then I will. But sometimes when I have to cut the bullshit, nope, I'm going to speak for myself. Because I speak in a tone that only certain motherfuckers understand. Paul was very intelligent. So just because you have a fierce mouth, that don't mean that you are not intelligent. I think that's why my mouth is so fierce. Because I can read. I can read, man. I'm not dumb. And I can break down. Like a lot of people, I'm just keeping it a buck. A lot of people don't like to read the Bible because they don't like those words thither and and herewith and thou and all of those words. You know what I'm talking about. They don't like because it can be confusing, but as you can see how I break down words. Oh, I mean, I know what froward means, so I didn't show you. I didn't look that up, but I know what that means. Cause I mean, I've used it and I've been caught it. So, but yeah, I came and what made me do this is because I came across something and somebody was talking about how the Bible promotes slavery, and I'm not gonna say that it doesn't. I'm not, but a lot of the scriptures that are used have nothing to do with slavery. That it has nothing to do with slavery. It's talking about even if you want to go Old Testament, it's talking about servants in the temple, the Levitical priesthood. They had priests that had to clean the church, and they had the priesthood. They had different tasks for each one. They are all servants. We are all servants. Instant servant does not mean slave. We just feel away because white folks took this and used that against us. So now we don't want to have nothing to do with it. Kind of like when some of you brothers get busted for sleeping with that ugly girl and you try to act like you didn't sleep with her. And then when the whole hood front on you, you trying to walk away like, man, I ain't got nothing to do with that, man. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
I'm not asking you to cause an argument. Just because I want to know. Weren't there any whites or indentured servants as well as black slavery? I'm not asking you to cause an argument. Just because I want to know. I want to be educated.
John, do you know the difference between indentured servitude and American chattel slavery?
No, I don't. I like to learn. I'm not trying to argue.
Okay.
I just like.
Sure. Fair enough. Just asking if you knew the difference. So, indentured servitude was basically it was a bad labor contract. It was a horrible labor contract, and oftentimes they were 4 to 7 years. And there were white people who were considered indentured servants, but it was a contract that ended. When it came to American chattel slavery, that was basically a European invention, and it was slavery based on race.
Stop. It wasn't a European invention. It was a Neanderthal cave dweller invention. Because Europe was ruled by black people. Europa is the name of a black African queen. Black people ruled. The first Roman governor was Septimius Severus was the first black Roman governor. So, black people ruled Europe. So it was a Neanderthal, pale-faced demon. Yeah.
Slavery based on color. And also with chattel slavery,
it was not just based on color. It was based on bloodlines. Okay? These people, the Neanderthal, they knew who they were going to get. I cannot stress that enough. Sometimes people just like to make it seem like, oh, were just sailing on this boat and we just landed on the shore. Hey, look, oh, it's these people. Let's capture them. That's not how that happened. These people knew who they were going. When you do the research, as I have, you will find out these people have traced us. They have tracked us, okay? They have studied us. They knew who they was going to get. They specifically sought out the Igbo people. Specifically. They sought out these tribes because they knew that these people was the Jews. Wherever these real Jews are at, the nation is going to prosper. Even with all America's craziness, why you think America has prospered? Because black people is here. And then that's why they don't want to give us reparations. See, you focus on Bubba. No, I'm talking about President Dump and the 1% who knows this. They know what we have inside of us, our melanin, our spirit, our soul. What we have on the inside of us is worth more than any paper dollar that they have. It's worth more than gold. And we had a lot of that too. They stole it. This is about bloodlines. I cannot stress that enough. You want to know why? Because the East Indians are dark. Not the, but the ones with the point, you know, with the red dot. They dark too. Why they didn't put them in slavery? They didn't put the Ethiopians in slavery. The Ethiopians didn't come over here. Okay? The Libyans didn't come over here. No, it was West African. That's the name that they changed it to keep us from knowing who we are. And it was people already over here too. Our people was already over here. But this is about bloodlines. It's just not based on the color of skin. Maybe now today it is with racial profiling and stuff. You know, the lower levels, they don't know. They just had these prejudices against, you know, black people, even though they're the number one predators on the face of the earth. They go from land to land, destroying. I mean, that's real.
Unlike indentured servitude, you were enslaved for life, and so were all of your descendants enslaved. Slavery was hereditary, so you were considered property. There were some parts of ancient Africa where you would have folks who were enslaved. They would later go on to be tribal leaders.
Yeah,
you could still marry, you could still own property, but with American chattel slavery, you weren't able to do that. So basically, with American chattel slavery, slavery was a life sentence written into your skin and then passed on to your kids. That's not how indentured servitude worked. And by the end of the Civil War, I think it was 90% or so, 90% of the black folks who were enslaved in this country, they were born here. They weren't even part of the transatlantic slave trade. Does that help, John?
The other question I had was, wasn't it slavery in the Bible days when, like, Joseph was a slave as a Jew, or
yeah.
Jewish
So
slave?
I just made that distinction for you. In the Bible days, we're not talking about chattel slavery. Slavery existed all over the world. I've always said that. But the distinction was chattel slavery. Do you understand?
And that's the problem. Many don't want to recognize the distinction. And see, white people use these terms. Oh, Africans thought Africans. You know, it's like you're a dummy. That's just like saying Americans sold which Americans. Anybody is going to say, okay, which Americans was it? Was it the Chinese Americans? Did they sell the black Americans? Did the black Americans finally get their revenge and sell those white American bastards? They're going to want to know the T. So you can't just say Africans sold Africans, because Africa has 54 countries, over 1,500 different dialects. There's bloodlines. Negroes are not the same people as Ethiopians and Somalians. Somalians come from Ethiopia. Kush is now called Ethiopia. Cush had a son named Havilah. That is where Somalians come from. Negroes and white people come from Shem. Okay? Through Isaac. Isaac had 2 sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob is the forefather of the Negro, Native, and Latino. Esau is the progenitor of the white races. And white people did not always look like how they look today. Okay, yeah, they was born looking weird, but they didn't always look how they look today. But black people are not the same as the sons of Ham, who are that's Libya today, Mizraim, that's Egypt, and don't get it confused because them Arabs is in there. They were brought in, just like the imposter converts was brought into Israel. But you need to hear this.
I just made that distinction for you. In the Bible days, we're not talking about chattel slavery. Slavery existed all over the world. I've always said that. But the distinction was chattel slavery. Do you understand now?
Yes, I do.
Why don't you repeat it back to me to make sure we know that you've learned?
Keep in mind, he probably voted for Trump. This not Clay. I'm talking about the guy that's speaking. And unfortunately, his name is John. Ew. Damn his mama.
What's the distinction?
Okay. Oh, I'll try. See, I'm visually impaired, but I'll try.
It's okay.
What the hell does visually impaired have to do with you running your mouth? You got up here and ran your mouth.
Talk.
It's when white indentures were slaves and they couldn't seem to master what it was a horrible thing what they did. They were horrible with the jobs they had. They make them slaves for life. But
wow.
Yeah, it's
wow. And he gets to vote. He gets to vote. That illiterate bastard get to vote. What a shame. This man just sat up here. Clay Kane just sat up here and explained to this man. And you heard, because this is what's ingrained in Esau's heart. I will keep saying this. You need to go back and read Genesis 25. Read that chapter. Read the blessings. Esau didn't care about his blessing at first. White people didn't care. They gave it away over a pot of bloody stew. And it wasn't until Isaac was passing on and he bestowed a blessing upon Jacob that Esau cared. Because you know how, they don't care about something until we care about it. They always been like that. And then he felt like Jacob got over on him. If you go back and read it. You know what? Here we go. Because this is important. And the Lord, this is Genesis 25 and 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Esau came out first. See? And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. That's symbolic for Esau, this kingdom that we in right now. This is their kingdom, and they are ruling first, but we come next when Christ comes back. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. We still like that to this day. Don't nobody hunt better than white people. Okay? Black people never think to throw deer piss on them in order to attract the big bucks and then make them walk close and shoot them, or create inventions like the duck caller, the Duck Dynasty guys. And you see how they are religious? Because that's Esau. See, Isaac loved Esau because Esau was the hunter. Esau brought the food. Esau used to fix his favorite food. And Jacob saw pottage, and Esau came from the field. See, now this is why you need to read the lost book of the Bible. Because, they only say this in Genesis 29, right? But if you read, I think it's the book of Jasher or the book of Jubilees, you will find out that Esau had a battle with Nebuchadnezzar and two other dudes, and Esau slew them. This is why. So then when you come back to Genesis 25 and 29, and you can look this up, and if you go through my videos on YouTube, I've already gave the story. But Esau came in from the field, and he was faint. Why? He was faint because he had that battle with Nebuchadnezzar and those two guys, and he slew, and Esau did them in. He killed them. See? And keep on reading. And Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. Look, and Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die. Why? Why was he at the point to die? These are questions that I ask pastors, right? And all I get is, crickets. Hey, pastor, why? Okay, just Genesis 30, 25, and 32. Why was Esau at the point where he was about to die? Crickets. He sold him his birthright. Okay, now we on Genesis 27. Now this is where Isaac was old, He would make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me. Cause Isaac loved Esau but Rebecca loved Jacob. The mama loved Jacob. Look. This was the plan. See, Rebecca came up with, mama came up with this plan. Oh. Look. You think it can't happen, but look. You can look this story up. These is real sisters. Anyway, so his mom, the one that came up with the plan. So, and even Jacob was like, behold, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I'm a smooth man. So that means that Isaac gonna know that, Jacob trying to play him. And bring a curse upon him, not a blessing if it didn't go right. And his mom said, upon me be thy curse. Obey because the Most High had already told Rebecca. Look, so now we at the point, look. So now Jacob is playing like he Esau, and he with Isaac. Isaac, even though he was old and weary, he said, the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed them. Dang, how hairy was his hands? So this was the blessing that he gave to Jacob, because he thought he was, Esau. Verse 30, and it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison. And Isaac was said, Who? Because in verse 33, said, you see it say, and Isaac trembled very exceedingly, because he know he had just gave this major blessing, because he was at the end of his, right before he gave up the ghost. And so, and he blessed Jacob. Now Esau walking in, so that's where that whoo. Then he said, he told him what happened. And then go down to verse 34. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, Is it not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. See how quickly I just read you where they gave up their birthright because he was at the point of dying. Now he's been supplanted 2 times. That's how they act today, because they can't take accountability for the things that they do. This is their ancestor doing this right now. In these scriptures. Now, this is where, and he said, I read that. And Isaac, because he said, He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? Now, listen to this. He begged me for a blessing, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, because right now they're up, and the dew of the heaven from above, and by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Because this means that they will only gain power by invading lands. Setting up a false state of Israel way back when, in 1948. And that happened because Amessica and Britain came together. This was after the Renaissance, after our people had fell from power in Europe, because we ruled during the Dark Ages. They came together, created that false state. So today, they will have a base over in that area of Amessica. So Amessica will have and be able to take the resources. And that's what they've been doing. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And baby, you don't know how these words that Esau, he made a decree, man. It's like some Freddy Krueger type stuff. Like, he made a decree. And it's like, it's spiritual. Didn't you just read when I said, when he found out that Jacob was given his blessing, he wept and cried a great bitter cry. Baby, he reached down to the depths of hell and signed a contract. They don't say all of that, but I'm just saying, like, this is how deep and spiritual this is. And people don't want to take a look at it. People don't want to see it. But this is what they've been doing this whole time. these plans that they've came up with. And this is why they so ruthless when it comes to us. We've never taken their kids. If this ain't telling, I don't know what is. It's coming, y'all. Let me see. Oh, all of this gonna be on the next video. All of this gonna be on the next video. I only wanted to do an hour, but I'm looking for a picture. These is all the captivities that we've been in. Okay, let's look at these two pictures. Did we do this to your children? Did we do this? No, we didn't do this to your children, white people. Did we do this to you? Did we do this to you? We didn't do this to you. And did we take your hair and stuff it in cushions to make furniture? We didn't do that to you. That goes back to here. And this is why nobody wants to look at it. And both brothers are very stubborn. Both of them. Both of them. Very stubborn. But just alike in most ways. I'm telling you, this is why black people and white people don't get along. This is why. And you've done a lot to distort the history, to make it think, but you end up screwing yourself in the end, because today your ancestors don't know their own history and they don't know the truth. So you really did a disservice trying to stop the inevitable, okay? This is why they've devised plans with rap music, private prisons, and neither one is ready to change. Black people still want to be dumb, still want to go out and stand in the line to buy shoes that cost about $25 to make, but then you want to claim you ain't got no money. You want to claim you ain't got no food. You want to claim, oh, this man is this and he do this and he do that, but yet you had your ass, in that line to buy him some Jordans, didn't you? Because you not ready to change. You not ready to change. Even though God is whooping our ass, you not ready to change. You still want to stay the same. The man don't even play basketball no more. It's outrageous. And then you fight over these shoes. And white folks ain't no better. You not ready to stop being racist with the Cinnabon worker calling them Somalians the N-word, then losing her job, and then y'all going to raise $77,000 for her, or $70,000 for her to support her. See, that right there shows you are not ready to change. And so God is going to keep, because now God is disciplining these two brothers. And both of y'all are getting your asses whooped by ICE, Islamic Chinese enforcement. Because you don't want to change. You don't want to, you don't want to give it up. And it's going to get worse. After Trump did what he did to the farmers, to the truckers, and how he's decimating this land, this government, you would think, y'all will want to change. You see the writings on the wall, but nope. Events like y'all raising all that money, that shows you ain't ready to change. And so eventually it's still going to end with you losing power. But it's going to be just like Pharaoh. It's going to be just like Egypt and Pharaoh. See you on part 2.